How should any son of the lineage train, who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? Said that having body sattva, maha sattva, arya, avalokiteshvara, said this to the venerable Sharaputra. Sharaputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly. Knows five aggregates, also infinite aggregation. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness. Without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the endpoint of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Tayata, Gate, Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice a profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoiced. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharaputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. To page 25 for the short mandala. Sashi koge je me do re ra le she ning de jen ba de san je xing de mi de nanda jen la ju ba shu jetsa lama dampa ke nam ye je we pa la jen de ne che da san bre de je ze ma la sa je shu je chang Guru Rana Mandala Gamne Yadayami Sanje Shudan Sanje Shudan Chanchu Badu Tani Japsuchi Dagi Chichin Jive Sanam Je Drola Benje Sanje Drupa Sanje Shudan Sanje Shanam Chanchu Badu Tani Japsuchi Dagi Chichin Jive Sanam Je Drola Benje Sanje Drupa Sanje Jodam Saji Shanam Chanjo Bada Dani Jasa Dagi Chijin Jive Sonam Ji Dola Binje Sanje Drupa Konga de Zenyin Zame Dawa Danje Pame Chire Dame Shine Denze Godan De La Chazela Tunye Nye Jesu Ne Jove Lan Chichi Zenze Kanche Tendu Chana Bema Denze Jozo So De Zo Shine Lene Shon Banden Zeve Lama Rambo Shin Dagi Chiro Bende De Shine Gade Shime Gune Jesu Koson Tu Ji Ngo Cho Tse Do So Hai Dang Zo Kulong chanju sim ku no sim ba chiro
Yeah.
dan da jin da nye ya gom ja ya sam na ya hari na chang ma lo ne sim ji shen la phen ba ba shi du ya chi du nge ni gi yo sti nye ba la de ne su su sim de sim sang bo ji so tu ya dang sim tem bo ji so tu ya de so ba la de ne nge ro sim ji shen la ya phen do shi du chi gi ti chi du nga jin da ni gi yo sam ba go ne gu long de ne ji gu long sang bo chi che sho sro
Adopting the correct intention of bodhicitta, that one will listen and reflect, listen, meditate, and reflect on the teachings for the benefit of others, so that one listens to cultivate one's own kind heart and mental stability. Think one is going to listen to the class with that motivation.
ai ta ka wa gom ro de ng ran zo lam rim ge ne jerum bu jing sung xin ne ko tu gi chung wa de ge wa sang mo yin de ro ge wa sang mo re re da ran zo jerum bu jing 제제위나 네 베제티로치스라고 베제티로치나 디 단단디 숭상교디 마 튀그레와
Yes.
제자네 겨성무레다라
Rejoice that today we have the fortune and opportunity to listen to Lamrim, composed by Lam Tsongkhapa, that expresses calm abiding. Fortune, isn't it? Recognizing that fortune. If we were to meet Lam Tsongkhapa directly, he would teach just this. That's fortunate.
아야 다 누기진 신에게 규디제데 좀 섬체로 다 델라데네 신에 공주세 신에 니와드레 델라데네 신에 공배 주세 델라데네 스데다 나게 신에게 규초 죽시에서 스티간나다 제역스를 참고다 안디 얘기 간라야 다디 참말랍데네 아니 신도 신에다 공연주다 공주 관계에 스타디 시고로
Okay. We looked at the causes we needed to have gathered together to accomplish calm abiding, shamatha, and we said there was 6 plus a further 2, making 8. And having gathered those, we then attempt the actual practice. How do we do that?
다들래야 니 조와다 의시스로 조와스도 타딕치야들시로 진행 의시시네 무슨 공단을 바스티니 시로
So those, how to cultivate serenity or calm abiding on the basis of the preparations has 2 parts. The preparation and then the actual practice. Page 30 if you have the text.
다 조와디 가래라디 나르시베 조베 추툭다 나라에 주 중요 것을 조베 추툭 여러
Yeah.
대체 대체버드네 대간라야다 전주기 쌤 아니 양데 공부 레스토랑도 군론 제기와 전주기 쌤
Yeah.
마검나는 곰자디 예차가 아니 티징 그 테라 두고 말이지 니네 아니 소남시다 사투고요 말봐 다 간장하나서 미유디 다두고 디지도야 치디인자 아니 군론 전주 쌤이 쌤바지 거레스타디 내가 전부 송고요 레스라
The six preparatory teachings or practices were explained above, but over and above that, that's explained in accordance with like the initial scope. But over and above that, again and again, one needs to cultivate the mind of awakening or bodhicitta for 2 reasons. Firstly, that one's practice should be that of the great vehicle of the Mahayana, and secondly, we need to accumulate merit. Here, we are going for the final bliss of Buddhahood, so bodhicitta is indispensable.
디가나 탄도 주충우다 주딩기 투몽이 미베 ngo원남장 장고레스타 디 시네 마루 콘라 주충우 충우단 딩기 람렘델다 샤르곰 라루 샤르곰 세치 곰델다 샤르곰 시디마 당보 빼나다 주충우선 당보 아니 신이딘 주로와 신이 된주체 신이 된주라 삼배 된주 조회 된주 사자 안도즈마 상로당 다 연대시 유단 되네 상당도나 야고요로
Yes.
망자 연대시 유동고요로 안대제라야 텐저 텐지 대화제 조와 주전 아니 지 니에가와도 상로데스 당도나 야고요로 네 학과도 먼저 지다 셈라야 마지바당 강해당 아니 지 당하라서 메제나라 지 만디고 때때 연디당 앞에 레마송서 앞에 베사서 삼 세마쇼지 다 등산 디프레션이 실라거도
Yep.
근데 예외가들 아니 텐저 텐제 당아미 류된 된데지 토바 니가 주고는 니가 배고는 니가 tran지고는 니가 어디서 상로 단제 배 가와 공부해야 된대 배 펜도 전부 심야 생도야 펜도 전부 이는 네 텐저든지 그래서 곰dom나 상로 양생 스타dom나 야고 여러서
So, in order to support one's meditative practices, one should also do what's called the glance meditations or the glance view on the initial and middling scope. So that means going through how to, for example, rely correctly on the spiritual friend in thought and deed, and also going through the fact that one has a perfect human rebirth qualified by 8 freedoms and 10 endowments. That is difficult to get. And these are very important for us to reflect on, even in the context of this life, because sometimes in our life we face difficulties and we get down and or depressed. So at that time, if we really reflect on the perfect human rebirth, which is qualified with these 8 freedoms and 10 richnesses, then if you think about the causes, examples, and numbers, then that will lift you up from the state of being mentally down, and it is a point to rejoice in. Yes.
셈마 사드가라 텐저 텐지 그러랑랑도 빌레하고 텐지 상단으로 봐
Yeah.
둔두두즈네 네 나자나서는 나나도 랍투면도 왕은도 미 랍투다 아니도
Yeah.
미라 최럽의 남제기 셰럽도 최치도도 둔두 최치에면도 알아
Yeah.
이제는 이제 삼는 아지 당하라는 류된 야고지 니샤상 야네 야도 가오곰제 심야 생도서 그래서라
It is easy for us when we're a bit down to contemplate in this manner. Because, for example, if we compare our situation with that of animals, animals can't really explain what they're going through, but we can say or express our state. And over and above that, we have a type of wisdom or discriminating intelligence. And then you can think, I got it. I got the support, human support.
다야 되네 지 ngaje shukchumbude leyondi ngaje shukchumbule watang ane tanzi shukchumbule watang ane chue chinye madu watende yongu da sang dan ro nyopto chagdo an dinde ga dula chiwa mida wa komne zawa sum gyunze gu taje wa sum sa de ma sam da ro mida wa sam no da ane sam da inde yang sim ya ngaje chumbu cha de ma cha ya tanzi shukchumbu che de cheondi yang de ma cha ya dinde si je
Conversely, if one's mind becomes too up, proud or lofty, or there is strong self-grasping, or yet at other times you might feel you do not wish to practice Dharma, that you are lazy, then one should reflect on the death and those 3 kind of three roots of death, or 3 basic reasons, and the 3 factors, making 9 all up. Anyway, thinking on death and impermanence is good to make the pride become less and the self-grasping to reduce.
다 디 텐조 텐제단 치워미다 와 삼노다야디 고바 카레르디 제르모체 남존남존나마 텐조니가 첼로로메 일라코메 세데 나셰도 송도 텐조 니가오레스 밀루딘디 하자 니가오레스 아니 투주직 날란 지로 그래서 누가 축지질로 그래서 텐조니가 셀로로메 지네 대 아주 류딘디 하자 니가오레스 이나야 파자 지라오레스 데니 제 미다고 상다로 디니라 데네 한저 세디강게 직 자와슈 개좀부지야 되다 도고 그래서 던다 도도 디리미지 미다보금네 신나라야 게좀 말해서 봐. 그래서 세디게 삼로 짱짱 다야 돼. 도고요 그래서 이제 텐조단 치고 미다고 삼로 담에 타마들라 domro yawne jeromo chengene 어디 세디다 자샤 개침부지거든나 자체도 세디 축스지래다 쉬우쉬지야요 말했어 다 들려게 치매던다 가르치고 오더라 미냥 링보지기 내가 가르치고 오더 대상무다 다야 중국이나 텐조된제다 치오미다 공배게 미유로 고된로 어디 전다로 디레스로 어디 배 야고를 남존나는데 손도 제로모 제로
No. So as mentioned with regards to the glance meditation, one can also go through that as it is laid out in the foundation of all good qualities. So coming back to the purpose of reflecting on the human rebirth, having 8 freedoms and 10 richnesses, and death and impermanence, is to reverse the strong clinging to this life, as Lama Tsongkhapa states clearly in the 3 principles of the path, by thinking on death and by thinking on the perfect human rebirth and its rarity, and that it does not last, helps you to turn away from clinging to the things of this life. It is very powerful. What Lama Tsongkhapa is saying is that there's no time to waste. But not only is the perfect human rebirth rare, but it is disintegrating and it won't last long. So thinking like that will reverse clinging to things that are less important that we think are so. It is for that point. We don't reflect on perfect human rebirth and death and impermanence just to get fear, certainly not. It is to understand this life is not long, and to make our view longer. Okay, so what's our longer view? And by reflecting on perfect human rebirth and death and impermanence, then we have tremendous purpose in life. No.
지난 다디지라 아니 단당한저 남린 뒤든 게식데 수 된베이나 알아 신행연로 메지 되메지 디지죠 군조스는 디지 점도 신데 되메 디 가나는데레서 랑도 추시술라라레서 소나시데 다제산 시네 밀루된디 녀가오레 녀가 직라오레스 아니 직니 가와도 그래서나 안 된도당엔도 당엘라 녀와다 이다 파샤는 거저 튼도당 미니 통구도 알아 겨울 렘데니 통구도 알아
Yeah.
튼도당 미니 다 디네 가war레 겨울링 그래로 튼돌 겨울링 그래 밀 겨울링 그래로 제가 엔돌라 메제베 댕조 요말 수수라
Yeah.
매베 인자 아니 다 튼돌 제베이나 동네 직바나조지 요 인자 아니 디 껴봐야지도 군조선을 겹스트에 잠로서야도 독스천 차고래 예 제자디 녜송 그 동네를 지신 따네 델리교에는 군조선을 잠로 그 잠로 제들라는 조당서 지레 겨워사야다 디보제메다 캐시슈리스 어디송으로다 랜데가 남샤도 독스 연구요 레스로
And also going on from the reflection on death and impermanence, Lama Tsongkhapa states in the condensed Lamrim, the hymn of experience, that there's no guarantee that at the time of death one won't take a lower realm rebirth. So with that in mind, take heartfelt refuge in the 3 jewels, because then one will know what to adopt and what to abandon in terms of white and black actions, and guard one's karma because of that protection. So then, let's leave aside the possibility of these other lower realms of hells and craving spirits. Just looking at the animals and humans, there's no guarantee where we will be born amongst those 2. So in order to prevent that possibility of a lower realm migration, we take refuge in the 3 jewels. And the main point of refuge is to follow the law of, adopting virtues and abstaining from non-virtues. Cause and effect.
다들 주부 중국에 남기는 뭐서 어디래다.
And that is
되게
initial scope, motive.
다음도 주부 중국에 남냠는 림버들라.
No.
아니 지 신유된주 된저든지 치워미다 봐. 아니 잠도 레준데 되게 되다. 저 들어 냠nen치.
Yeah, so really that's essentially initial scope. Relying on the spiritual friend, taking refuge in the three jewels, following the law of cause and effect, recognizing perfect human rebirth, and so forth, the law of karma.
다드네 아니 디질의 주딩랭데 먼저 뒤에 단다 책도 되나요? 왜 책대. 책 가르되나 리 단다 베나 디되나요? 왜래 단다 레다뉴 뭐 세베 타세야 되나는데 야면은
Aleon Nagarjuna.
대대지 뭐게 천안동제 귤레전 디디지 시버서 귤로고 가는 뭐 계전 좀 되게
Aleon.
대대제 아니 삼로단제와 단단가는 메일류된데 나라류된데 가라되네 중도로와 중고버드즈 규단 젠트네 칸의 중도 안테다게 당가란저 니마니면난 게 셈게 강에도 칸의 중도 마지버도 칸의 중도
Yeah.
타마디버도 칸의 중도 어디게야야 삼로단연데 아니 타릭스도 연데 다 데모드제 미시바르와타 야 삼로단연데 차단은 인 중앙 차단이네 아니 야야도 마시버 몽바들라데네 중앙데 도수수 삼로시 담비나 아니 데 로단디 중외이나 아니 배야고 요레스로 왔습니다. 저는 곰제고 근데 섬다는 야고 요레스.
Coming to then the middle scope reflection. How does one reflect on that? One can choose a verse, either of those, the one by the protector Nagarjuna, destroy karma and disturbing emotions. These come from elaborations of true existence and so forth. And by understanding emptiness, these are ceased. One can reflect on that verse. Or the other verse that's taught by Buddha, which says that, the Buddha taught that all phenomena are come into being due to causes and conditions, and that the cessation of those compound phenomena were also taught by the great sage. So either of these two, if one can contemplate them relating to one's day by day sort of a physical body and situation. So what are the causes and conditions behind one's body day in, day out? But also recognizing what are the sources of one's suffering and difficulties that one faces with those verses stated. Why is one ill at ease and so forth? And then one will be able to trace it back to the ignorance or confusion of ignorance grasping, but also the chadang. Chakwadang dangba means the desires, attachment and aversion which stem from that ignorance. So if you can reflect and meditate like that, that's a really good method.
랑게 동예라 삼로단 동예 텐데가 삼로단연데 랑게 동예라 미네 아니 니중게야 봐. 아니 랑게 동예라 미네 니중게인데 라니라메베 다데 딩상 라니라메베 닝지세지 타녀 치기여라 다데 봐.
레옹.
딩상 덴데지 타녀지 용거여다. 다 택보 전벽에 저 냠내잖아.
요말.
라니라메베 닝지세도 배진 요말.
요말.
다데 딩상 눕죠나라 계절 먹고 시기도.
You love yourself.
라니라메베 닝지 대가서나 다 란지지 숙청보여 다 된거라.
Now, if you look at your own situation as one being of difficulty and suffering, and you develop the thought to be free of that and its causes, that's renunciation. We could also say these days there's like a self-compassion. In reality, in terms of the great vehicle, there is no self-compassion. But these days, we have all these notions of loving yourself, and that's because we have such strong self-cherishing now.
이내 뒤에 개좀 물어봐. 수술에 닝지 맞이는 밀에 닝지 지도고 말아봐다 되게 어때.
But in a sense, that is okay, because if you can't have compassion towards yourself, how could you generate it towards other beings?
지산디 대치 다디네 에네 라니 다 코와 니존들레 와 렌데밀로 치메 렌데밀로 코에동네 양스니 치메나셰도 사드르다 치메나셰도 시니 치마 진원들 함이 공발레 당기 예전 그 동네에 지지단에 겨와다 뭐 파에다 미다 파에 공바터벨레 어제송아
Yeah.
다미 공바터네 동해진야레샤 초면도스러 레도하다
Diro.
미카셰다 동해로 제냐 뇽된 조서시 zambulinde는 동해뇽와 용의 소리도 다 가지 닝제로 백화도에네 동해전장 스웨덴 조서를 쳐야 된다 닝제로 저거 오늘에는 zambulin데라 수수 직 시디지리 단 수수수수를 지 여러다 가서 생비네 대화사데 수수수를 여러들에 데드메어 수제 수수수수 마지와 수제 데데니다 시오지 망보 시오지도 와서다 인디장가라 다 밀류된데레 동해랑 시리샤 딜레 타와시고도 상당한데네 유딩길로 타와트니길로 써야 되는 거라
And so then also in the three principles with regards to striving for liberation from the cycle of existence, not just the lower realm, then by turning, by seeing the infallibility of the law or the workings of behavioral cause and effect, one strives to be liberated from the cycle of existence. So whereas the initial scope, our purpose or goal, was to be born as a human or God, here we see that even if we're human yet again within samsara, there's suffering, and we can see in this world beings are suffering a lot, even in the human constraint, so much so that it's difficult to bear. And not only that, but they themselves create that suffering which takes away their own potential to get bliss. So here one strives for the liberated state using the perfect human rebirth, and the mind that strives for liberation is the mind of renunciation with that human constraint. No.
다딜라 야한테 제름 뭐친 게 세부 쇼송을 대다 공부 코에 핀줄 라서와 다 사무든데 당당당인데 코에 핀줄 이메 아지 딘데지 알을 중로에서는 당 아지우 시주 용서를 삼삼 딘데 이메 깨직자 마주나나 아니 저랑 타거든요 로쇼에다 로 요레스다
Okay. So Lama Tsongkhapa states it so beautifully when he goes on to say that if you don't cling to these pleasures of cyclic existence, even for an instant, that's a sign that you have got that renunciation.
다디 예외이나 라니 이게 코와 내가 코와 제외이네 강에 동해냐를 딜레 타워들로 고고도 삼는 안에 라니 시즌로 와시 만주도 그냥 트나도 전주심조 지와시니 절로다 다 수수 코와라 코당 그런 것들 삼다는데 도 심지 신담제 동해뇨 아지다도 저 동해레 타워지 시고도 삼네 신도다 전주가 셈세야 돼 독스전이 연구요 레스다
Liberation from cyclic existence for oneself alone. Then the verse, just as oneself has fallen into the cycle of existence, so have all kind mother sentient beings, and seeing their suffering situation, not being able to bear it, please bless me to generate the mind of bodhicitta to liberate them. The Chibuchang, great scope.
So all
of that is the foundational preparation for accomplishing karma abiding.
다 전주 심 정화 제월라 심 템보시고도 대인상당한 삼대 공부도 신의 공부도 다 레기도 하시잖아 데려와 밀레편도 제월라 수수심 맞추고지고도 서와 수수심 tru나 밀레편도 오면 더라 이제 심 맞추고 제월라 다 신의 공부도 다 대지동아 신의 공부니 다 도스len 슈글레기도 하더라
and it is because to generate the bodhicitta one needs a stable mind. To generate calm abiding, one needs a stability, because you need a mind that doesn't get distracted or upset. So therefore,
다 무시래야 아니 니도 다 근데 무시들라 니스와 단지디 조바디지 시내금지디 조바디 조심
Leon Josimbraba.
다 무시들라야 니스래 니월라 니래도 하려면
So that is recapping or going into the preparation we've just done. Now, when it comes to the actual accomplishment, there are two parts.
당보다가는 류지 줄람 친다고 공부 다 류대도 간대 되고 요래스 아니 공배를 뭐 간대래스 다 되래요.
Those two parts are what is the meditative posture, and secondly, the meditative process itself.
다 될래야 쿵로디 공부를 봐봐던 타말래 로면 까말래 실내 제비신교 송바 따르 아니 때 신도 장보스라가 때 공자세 당랑서 메디테이션 구신라다 되도 먼저 돼 야고도 아니 제 아니 디가라야 지 류 군주 최제단된 바지 고레스르와 최제단된 바지 고레스다.
Okay, so this source here is Kamala Shila's second and third stages of meditation that say you should take up an 8-point posture on a very soft and comfortable seat.
다디 가래라디 아니 덴디 잡로디야 삼디기 덴시 잡데스 토보시 용어라지 소고다 데리다.
The cushion should be slightly raised at the back, and that is called the concentration cushion.
다 오늘은 곰제사디 칼로스디 니마야 샤운스딜라 니 칼로나야 고요레서 그래라.
니마야샤.
니마샤 니마샤르도.
Facing east, Kishla.
어디?
So really, one should try to face east when you meditate.
다드네 졸람 제데 가래라디 뒤용안주 르남나 최든 덴세죠라. 대간라야 네 롱창로 바워스 제워 두스레다리 제라이데.
Ale jebedi Kishla kulung dobshte.
마레
Sokshin.
kuloma.
Ale lung jangdang gonda. Yeah, so the reason there are 8 is because we have these 7 of Vairocana, and then the 8th is stabilizing the mind with breath meditation.
다 제들이 지운디 당보 아니 강바도지 진종로와 제준 남바나제 산제 남바나제 슈단디 도바다 되되나 아니 강바도지 진종되네 다 진종 간자되나 리그리 진종 체가 되나 디기요레와.
So the first of those 7 features of posture is to cross one's legs in the manner of Vairocana, using either full or half lotus is fine.
다 믹 하장 아니 메치 믹 참고 단데오 마야 믹좀 데오 마야 봐 안 나고 세들마 람바라지 샤고 요레스로.
So the eyes, the second point, the eyes should be neither too wide nor too tightly closed. They should be gently fixed on the bridge of the nose.
다 숨바디 류 하장 갸드 파타게로 데베스로 마야 봐 구구체도 마야 봐 계속 당보로 상고 다디 개점 뭐셔래 계속 당보.
This third point is very important, of not being too kind of hunched over with your posture, with your back, or too far leaning back, keeping your posture straight.
아니 소단 추 람밥샤 추스 람밥샤 제 다디 추스 람밥샤 그래와 카베 디스탄데 베 점데 담데와 마이 봐 람밥샤
Agislish Tesco.
소단 추니
Mari Tesco Shipa Chongo.
알레 타과
Oh yeah.
타과 태가르샤 냠버샤 다 람리나 로데리 nga ma jamjabdo 람리나 라단다 타과 냠버샤 타과 태가르샤스디 타과 마두.
Yeah, so next point, keep your shoulders straight and even.
그래서 다드네 고니 메토 메마시 초직디 마요 버시데네 나네 대월 정보되고 그래서 고보디.
Right. So with the head not too raised and not too low, or neither turned to one side, so that your nose and navel are aligned straight.
아니 소단 추 람밥샤스로.
And let the teeth and lips remain in their natural positions, relaxed.
아니 dumba디 ចេ니 야수 퉁두샤 서와
Draw
제즈게나
your
자서
draw your tongue up close to your upper teeth or upper palate.
아니 옥다 제바디 옥니 친한데 교와 다젠다 ngam바당 고발 젠소 미당지 찐이장 파교 출교 미서 대부 당보 옥배 교와 시험바직체 아니 감사질로 옥 준도 메시베 터네 아니 심샤고 요레스타 된데디 잡다 면다지레로
Ale tambo.
당보 옥데지 치어스 당데 하코치 and the negalek shook me
Ale yeah. Yeah. So then, with regards to the eighth point, the breath, first a little bit of recognizing the breath and then just resting it in its natural mode.
제단단다 곰자단게 류게 졸람디게디 야고스 쳬도베이나 아니 곰 주르는 거 가서 자외나 깔레마 가야 되는 거예요. 아저디 류게 졸람디 야고메나 니 대단데 야고마데나 아니 곰 주르는 거 자투고 말 곰데스 자오다네 산산가 깨바나가 산산가 코나 나야 망고 안 카야 단데네 가감래 로아든데 망고여리 쳬주시다데 네 류기 대단데 개침부 쉬우차게 열던데와
So the importance of these postures, these points within the posture, so that one can meditate for a long time without difficulty. Because if the posture is bad or something is missing, then you might get a sore back or a sore head or even a dry mouth if it dries up and so forth.
야, 당저 검직 데스 검제 직접 아니 단다디 수술류데 단저데 아니 오 검자단시도와 디미세지요 디직 데스 잡샤네 야고요다 검데스 잡샤나라
So now we'll practice meditating together. First, be aware of one's posture, and then we'll spend some time on the breathing. That's important.
아니 제일 우 담에베 타마들 우 담에바 지라 파도에 주도에 와데네 간단지라 시기 외에 간단지라 아니 전에 맞춰뱅아라 아니 대부 제 예로지 상담에 하고 그래서
Yeah. So when you have settled after having recognized the breath, and then you get to a stage where it's almost like it's quite soft and there's no sensation, that's good.
디 가도라 셈나 남도다 만에 탱도나 아니 우글 장가 잡샤는 디고리로
Yes. So if you find a lot of discursive thought, you can begin to count the cycles of breath.
저나다데 편유식도 편유들라 년사 파보타미게 제베 년세나
Laddo.
산제지 나웨 티암 튜 자딩 산제지 나와예베 네티 주디 자 바보디 자구샤는데 자든데 딩난디로와 딩산도 자딩고 말아라서다 기긴겨로 딩산 아니 르레과데나 저람 신데 자베 여와단 제수 tumbe nyurwa 신장 저와 지상 르 게지 동보 대비나 아니 신장세야 돼 르레롱 셈레롱 셈기 곰자니 투와 르르 깔레마게 어딘데 용고요래 송거라
Laddo. From a sangha, we hear of the 5 reasons for sitting in this way, as Buddha taught: cross-legged on a seat, stool, or grass base. It would have been grass in those days. These days we are plastic. So straight. One of the benefits is that it is this posture, if the posture is straight and upright, is conducive to the arising of pliancy. So therefore you have both a tremendous pliancy of body and mind, which makes physical and mental serviceable. Yes.
근데 아니 저람디다 무디과다 페이지 고와타다 투무 많이 봐 세상에서 힌두도 같이 인데 같이 담아다 지기도 쓰고 근데 많이 봐 아니 수부대단 다가란 게 아니 곰자니 신다면다고 지금 요래서 그러다
It also demarcates the posture from non-Buddhist. Sometimes the other yogis in the Hindu tradition, they sit with various gestures and different ways. But this is unique to Buddha.
대단한 지 가서 그래 룩도 찍도시나 야고요라
Yeah.
아니 바 찍찬데 정말 라고 차나 아니 제일 내야주는 메뉴 차도라
Yeah.
찍야고 찍도시나 아니 거찍 레요야요라고 대봐 어디 시기요다
It seems to be that it is good to have a particular system and stay straight with it, not waver from it. Because if you keep chopping and changing, you'll never achieve. This is like that.
아니 신지 줄람티 두보토나 신도 타와죠 미신라이나야 지 아니 곰자데 다디 곰님 여보세요 아예 들리지 않니 주스라
Right. And the other point is that when others see you sitting in this posture, they themselves will be inspired and think, I want to sit like that, meditate like that.
제담믹세게 줄람디 산제단 주주스만남지 나와요 와당 텐데 임바인자 믹세들라 루드단들야 아니 진랍다 믹세게 누가 켜바진 텐데 요레스로
But also because this is the way the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas sit, they, it has that appearance, so it has tremendous blessing.
아니 먼저 르 정보 상와디 니 말이야 묵보 말이야스데 니 마고나 묵보 심마 티 때버지도
Yeah.
텐데 마야 르 정보 돼야 되겠네 상고용 요레스로
And when the body is straight, it stops lethargy and sleepiness. Now, when lethargy begins to come, the body becomes like sunk in and heavy. This stops that.
다대다 정말 르지 군주 제네 쳐버디 롱창을 바와셔바디 베다디 내가 롱창을 바와서디 디케첨버에서는 가르서나 주미지 남도 간 봐야 돼 주미지 남도 가야 돼 좋아 제단디 롱창을 바와서야 되다 내가 첨버에서 좋아
And therefore at the outset you have to meet the 8 points of physical conduct mentioned, particularly the calming of the breath, because one needs to stop the discursive thought at the outset.
다던데 당도 준주나라야 네 신의 검산들라 당보 아니 지 랑진지 당 다신념적 검단들의 송구도 뒤에 내가 전부지를 가서는 간저 sim ge namdo mangbo sheo chiro namdo mangbo sheo ji thandi 먼저 다신 지기 열어봐. 다신 지기 열어. 아니 랑제 버진 신 예워통. 아니 라니 하고 된 시마왔다. 아니 랑제 버통 신 예워다. 다 망고 셔지게 나랑도 에 대제더와. 쇼베 야 랑이 건다 많이 해서고 아니 여 수수생기 연제 가져 지기도 따더와. 아니 연제 가져 마음 제어 대인가 돼 쌤들 맞지요. 가족의 신라 신변의 성로 망아 다이나 대인가데 그런 게 쌤들 기회요. 스스로 더 나아지는 건다 많이 얘가로 오더라. 아들이 들이 와서 좀 마셔서와. 강에 망고 채선스다.
Yeah.
녀도 발라발라 망고 충성스러워. 안데 이제 가네 정도 다다. 맞아 스스로 연지 제와 연지 망고 쌤나라. 즉 상담로 숙침을 쇼요 된죠. 아니 나제 숙침. 아니 nga la ya de man tha je se chen yori sha de shin bu che go res je jun jun na de song go de pe me si mixe ge tablam je re sha nge du sta de ro
The advice before setting out to practice calm abiding from Shantideva and the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life is to look at the demerits of self-cherishing and cultivate the thoughts of equalizing and exchanging self for others. Why is this? Because if you look at the causes of our mental constructs, our thoughts, often they are coming from self-cherishing, where we have neglected others and cherished ourselves. Now we have to change that by cherishing others and disregarding our own needs. So normally we put ourselves up and we think of others as down. And you can examine this when you have like a bad day. Oftentimes, when you wake up in the morning till the night time, you can observe how many times in your mind did you discriminate, make this border between self and other. And oftentimes you'll find that the days where you have suffering, it is because you made such strong borders in the mind. Oh, self, other, and pride.
last week listening the research scientist one professor and reject everything he's talking lots and I watched his talk and I look in the time and I count how many times he used I. He used 15 seconds. He used 20 I. 50 second ro.
Yeah.
까마직 말다 15 second ro.
Yeah.
디나라 나 뉴시다 페이지 쳤고.
So even not even in a minute, just 50 seconds, he used the I pronoun 20 times. I was quite amazed.
지난주 따다라. 오늘 지난주 수수 계시되 따다 상상. 아 지난주 상 가시 날 계시던 게 지난주 나를 장가제기다.
So check, you guys check yourself, check your speech. How many times do you say I? I'll be checking you. Oh yes. So that's okay. You check me and I'll check you.
Counter. Oh.
Yes.
아니 휴 표제 제거더라. 나서 휴 라고더라. 엔 지난주에 상주나 렉처도 년도에 수진에 어디 당하자라. 왜 접사도.
It seemed it was used a lot. So check the news and check lectures and see how much this is used. This I. It's
어다 디린디 네 류남나 최된된체 롱차름 바다지 디제디 야고지 심바제 네 람림게 되나마 주 중문의 주 등이 곰자단 다디 대제 곰대지 잠나 야고요레와 주 셈난 주 디제마 믹좀네 삼노데스 스타요 중이나 직제도 직제된데 주 독제와 아니 데마 셈나라샤 Sachawaji kunde samdang to be ina and pay our yoresra.
So that could be our work to do to make sure we know those 8 points of physical posture, the 7 and then the breathing one. But it's also important during the week that we reflect on the Lam Rim. What is the purpose of the initial scope and the medium scopes? And the verses that we alluded to that go with those particular scopes to glance, meditate on, that's good. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that is shower.
Okay, we'll stop for today.
Mangushi, that deal a deal and Yabanga want to leave to talk with.
Oh, question? Bill?
Question? Two,
Yes, yes.
Gesla was mentioning when we're doing karma writing just now to say like that we should cut discursive thought from the beginning, but that's kind of impossible. So I'm wondering is where would an analytic meditation come in there? You know, like do we like analyze? Because by analyzing the nature of the thought, you know, with the Four Noble Truths, you know, like its impermanence and the nature of suffering, selfless, you know, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or and then we can go into its origin and you know production of suffering, blah blah blah. Like, you know, with the Four Noble Truths characteristics, we can apply that. Is that the kind of analysis?
Oh, you're talking about the medium scope, aren't you?
No, I'm talking about. Oh yeah, that's medium scope. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's medium.
Is that what your question is?
Well, the question is, we can't cut discursive thought.
No, but the point of the breathing was to slow it down. Is that the question?
No, we can't just cut discursive thought from the beginning.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do we analyze the thought? Because only by applying some analytical meditation to the arising thought can we have any opportunity to see that it's an ephemeral thing and will disappear of its own accord. My question is, what is the type of meditation? And I'm suggesting that is it the noble of the characteristic of the Four Noble Truths?
So you're talking about the 8th point stage.
I'm talking about analyzing thought.
Yeah, but when though?
At any stage.
Oh, so your question is, when do you analyze thought? At any stage during karma abiding?
No, I just said that. Do you understand my question, Geshe-la? This is tricky.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm not sure. Colors.
Tambo Gomjeb Ugrum se di kalsa
Namdo
ka gimse derwa.
Ka misiri la sama lamse.
Ya morang la ka misibere Tambo gosudu. Tikap la namdo ki kaya ki kodu chegom nangsing chegi yorwadi. Kaisana pena dembashi ki kola dikap la dembashi somla tangare namdo kaya kodu Tambo.
Ah, le. Namdo kaya di ujung kran ba. Jidang zo namdo kaya si pe de jidang re danda de ujung gomde gyabje u kran kana simne to na namdo tine ko le yongsa yo mare. Karsana onzu sim de lego guishara uglip thanga ujung tanga u pa do u kran kana le de jangala sim de u kan le de sim ga namdo tine yo mara. Tine ko le namdo kare.
Yes. The breathing practice itself is the method to stop or reduce the discursive thoughts, because if you are focusing on the breath, then your mind has the job of that and it stops the thought. Yeah, the thoughts don't have a chance to come. Yeah, so but if you are so distracted by your thoughts at that stage, then your breathing concentration is not effective. You can't meditate on your breath at that stage. Yeah.
다 참 샤자베지들라 아니 잠딩딩 지 용되도 알아.
Yes.
티운도 아니 믹바데 시네 믹바 고미알페 믹바세데 셈나게 tunji샤디 요데 공부로 데
Yeah.
공부디 셈나데 그 믹바베나 사공부이나레 우중 공부이나레 베나 하로 공부이나 하디 나와샤야 외로 공부이나 외디 나와샤야 용고요 나와샤나 아니 믹바데가나 셈네 내저다 당보다 봐 세겐 직제 니제데 용고로
Yeah.
세겐 숨제 시제 나제 tru제 세겐 세겐 숨지 세겐 유시도 두두체
Yeah.
야야야 두 세네 그 빠르고 고요라 제산디 ungeti yune ujung gomang go jabje go dangran so
Yeah.
jesanti pe ya go yo ujung gon jari
So the process of doing the breathing training or breathing, working with the breath at 8th point, when you're breathing in and out, is to quiet the mind, And the purpose of that is in calm abiding, you want to be able to focus single pointedly on your chosen object, which, of course, is a mental aspect or a mental appearance in terms of the object, which could be the form of a deity or, for example, light or whatever appearance it is you're focusing on. So once the mind has quietened, the thoughts have quietened, you're able to focus and place initially on that chosen focal object just for 1 or 2, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 seconds, or maybe just 1 or 2 seconds. And then slowly one can increase it to 30 or 40 seconds.
제가 니 신에 미고 gombe 내가 야미 sel은 미고다 네마도 세마도 체네 남도다 마테오나 남도디 까야레 베제마 제베체 냐 우글 탕가 잡제 대위나 아니고 셈디 우글 탕가 레고 구비 인자 아니고 텐야야 말아봐고
Yeah.
아니고 셈디 술레인 거라 도도도 세네가라 딘데기 신에기 gombe 내가라 덴바시다 전주샘다 니중다 딘데 곰주 요 말해서 왔다 거라냐
Right. So when you're actually training in calm abiding proper, and you're trying to place the mind or set the mind on the focal object, if thoughts come at that stage and you can't keep the focal object, then you have to go back to the counting the breath again, because that is the purpose of it. At that stage, when you're doing that, you should not even be thinking of the Four Noble Truths and so forth, because the point is to stabilize the mind.
언제든지 디 배샤이바 이 신에기 삐리디나로
Yeah.
비우디 신도사가도 된저죠
Yeah.
신도사야로 편도고로 와
Yeah.
대나시 빼드나시 어서 찬주그 셈다 덴바시다 지 텐조텐지 치워미다고도 저 개월에 최고고 여러 와
Yeah.
이나 대내가 될라 딱 신에가 돌때 곰대나 아니 저는 셈 토와 차르스 신에가 발제 차르고 여러 제가
Yeah.
근데 고매요 말해서 그렇죠.
So often there is a picture of the monkey wanting to eat fruit, and even though it's good to eat the fruit, when you're trying to cultivate calm abiding, if you are thinking on bodhicitta, the Four Truths, perfect human rebirth, even though these are virtuous things, it is a condition for excitement, and that excitement is an obstacle to one's achievement of calm abiding.
어디래다. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps it's prior to calm abiding. Perhaps prior to the process of calm abiding. Because if during calm abiding, we focus on an object for like, you say 10 seconds, 30 seconds, then the rest of the time, basically, we're distracted with our thoughts. So pretty much we're mostly distracted with thought. But what I'm trying to say is maybe prior to the process of calm abiding, I've just read in different commentaries that it says if we have an understanding of our thoughts process, like if we understand that our thoughts are impermanent and they're like causes of suffering and the nature of them coming and going, and do you see what I mean? The nature of mind, like we're looking at the weekend. If we have some prior knowledge and understanding of that, then when we are developing calm abiding and these thoughts come, we're not so clingy to them because we understand their nature. Do you see what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is we need some prior analysis of the thoughts, processes.
Morangi shine madrup kongla chegom chegarwa. Kayasana tep shimba nangla kurang kasik losong. Pena namdo ki kaya kodu. Tene sim gi chung sim namdo benzo kanis chungores. Tene dungel tinangshin dungel yongi yorwadi. Ti kapla shine drupe kapla namdo ki chungkung tang namdo ki kaya tang tikola shingna. Tene shine une drupe kapla tes pengi yorwa.
Tida pingira, pen pingira. Namdo kaya la bezen kuran tanda namdo uzuk kaa chegu marisa urti. Chena namdo maan runyi sur charo
Ya.
Namdo kuran shaaje simla nganzo lega nirang re da yakshwe derwa. Chidanda gom ya deze nyamnyo yagu chawde namdo shaa yundu namdo ngol ma dewe che seri ki chala taya tende yungu yorwa. Dadi nganzo nanda le thangbo dizo ki sim neja shinegi neja maliwe kongla namdo ki todugu yuza. Sim towa ki toje sim khasa kule yudugu yuza. Tisu duya ki tablan yakshwe di uk di yakshwe re da uk di yakshwe re. Shenda jegom chena ya todugu ra jegom shena gyumzen di shena dijila diji ya sim paa shodugu da. Tanda nganzo sim di tsu dugu yore sim tsu kogwe nana tsu legugu yore. An jegom shena sim paa shodugu re ya paa chilo yudugu ra. 다야 내제 야고 레스나나 아니 좀요 말해 고 심내 두번 좀 제와도 발레스나나 아니 남도 제 근데 유나 남도기 고 연구 말봐 남도 코라 신의 남라 파치트에 되는 연구 여러다고 디다야 야가제 내제 토부 차스나는 계절와.
Yes, it would help to understand how thoughts arise and how to reduce them before. It does help before you try to accomplish calm abiding proper. However, before you are able to set the mind single pointedly on the object, it's important to have this single pointed ability free of discursive thought. Because if you were to apply such analysis at that time, the mind would scatter. So what's being said is that the point about setting or calm abiding is to bring or condense the mind in, whereas analytical meditation means that you're more, because you're analyzing, you can lose the focal object. When you get to levels 7, 8, and 9 of calm abiding, where the mind is already stable and can set on its object, then you can begin to introduce analysis, but not before. We'll stop now.
Page 31 for the short mandala.
Sangye Shinto Mite Uwagi Tsokon Namdo Shima Chopa Sho
Jetsa Lama Kusen Raptechi Naka Tene Shoju Gewa Tang
Lo Sang Tempe Drome Tsasungi True Munse Tatu Nichu Chi Guru Ratnaman.
Page 33, prayers of dedication. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that is the rise and may their which has arisen undiminished I increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created, I thank knowledge of and acknowledging my faults, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddha say and teach. I now dedicate all this before awakening. I dedicate